3 o'clock on a Thursday. Welcome aboard to the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being on board with us. A lot to get to on today's program. Gamecock football had a newcomer media day. Is that did they title it Newcomer Media Day or Transfer Media Day? Or
the email I got was just media availability, and then in the body of the email was the clarification that it is the transfer players.
Okay, so there you go. That's what it was today. And Elijah was down there, our buddy Jack Veltri, amongst many others down there. So you'll hear a lot of that throughout the course of the afternoon. But Elijah and I speaking earlier, as we do before every show.
We do that from time to time.
I try to pretend we know what we're doing. But I know you had a good time down there, and you got a lot of good stuff. So that'll be the bulk of what we do today, I would think. We do have women's basketball to discuss. Carolina has Mizzou tonight. And then stepping out of conference play on Sunday to take on Connecticut. They're doing it without Camila Cardoso, but you've got some bigs that are ready to fill the void for a couple of days. I still very much like their chances in both games, probably on Sunday at least, especially because they're at home. I think that provides something good for Carolina. I did see as well, and it may be tough. I'll go back, but there's a way. If they can average like a little more than 16,000 for the rest of the season, there's a way for Carolina to break like a big-time attendance record for women's basketball. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That's a big ask, I know, even for a program that's doing well in a building that's big. That's not capacity, but I know they get close to capacity, and I know Sunday's pretty much sold out, right?
Oh man. Yeah, I haven't looked yet at what the ticket price is going to be for Sunday, but I would liken it to the black market price of an appendage.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
You ever put one of those up on the market? Yeah.
On the black market? Or on the deep web, as they would call it?
Sure.
Not yet, but... Trust me, there have been some times where I've thought about it.
Well, you should probably do it now while you're young. If I were going to do it, it'd be like, well, you're how old?
Sir, you're going to need that, right? Your body's going to need
either that or it's not quite as useful as it could be.
Yeah. Could be. We'll see.
Not that we recommend doing that.
Selling body parts on the deep web.
But hey, again, it's America, man. You do you.
Hey, just like the transfer portal and movement of collegiate athletes, there are markets in other places.
Have we seen? I haven't looked this week. I'm not even kidding. Have we seen what the top prices so far, list prices are for Super Bowl tickets?
Ooh,
because I know people. It's $1 million. I'm like, no. Did somebody pay $1 million? Like I can list, I can list my really old Toyota Sequoia for $100,000 right now. I was like, yeah, how much is it worth? Or how much are you selling for? $100,000?
No one's going to buy it for $100,000, exactly. But you can list it for whatever you want.
Yeah. So, but what are people paying this week for Super Bowl tickets? That's something that we'll look into. A lot of Super Bowl stuff on tomorrow's program. I better be careful. I believe Langston is going to join us. I have not officially reached out to confirm his visit for Friday.
Well, with history as our guide,
that's a helpful. It is a helpful guide. We will tomorrow have a big game edition. I had to say it that way. We'll have a big game edition of the Wild Card Showdown because there are prizes involved.
Ooh, so you can't say the.
Yeah, it's the right. I can't say that.
Yeah, I had to cut my mic.
Well done.
The superb owl.
We'll do that. That's right. That's good. I do like that one. So we got a lot of Carolina football to discuss. Women's basketball. Lamont will be on tonight, and then the game at 7. Brad will be with us at 4:30 to discuss what's going on, and we'll get into a little bit. Again, the business of college athletics continues to dominate the landscape. As you know, I don't know. I was talking to somebody in administration this morning, and I said, basically it feels like 30 years worth of collegiate sports business has come to a head in the last 30 weeks. It's again, I've been doing this as a professional since, at least in a covering sports daily capacity. I've been doing radio since 1996, and I've been a talk show host since 2002. I nothing like this ever, man. I mean, like, I remember the transition to the BCS and how big a deal that was, right? Or then the transition again 10 years ago-ish to the CFP. Like, thank God we did that, you know. Or, oh, wow, A&M and Missouri are coming in to the Southeastern Conference. That's kind of cool. You know, Miami and Virginia Tech to the ACC. Okay, you know, little trickles here and there of things. And all of this at once. And again, we know why. It's because too many people buried their head in the sand for far too long, and here we are. But Greg Sankey was on the Paul Feinbaum program yesterday. Also, Pete Thamel was on, and Pete's got a piece out at ESPN.com digging into the nuts and bolts. And while the commissioner had to be commissioner-ish when it came to some of the things he said, he basically, you can read between the lines. And one of the things he was asked, and we'll hear from him later in the show, but one of the things he was asked was basically, how did this come about? And just to remind all of you, if you don't remember, Greg Sankey was part of what the NCAA a couple of years ago labeled as a transformation committee. And I'm going to immediately sound athletically snobbish again, and it is never my intent, but I know it comes across that way. And I get to a point now where I got to say, I don't care. But it was co-chaired by the athletics director at the University of Ohio. Now, if it had been co-chaired by Gene Smith, the athletics director at Ohio State, I'd have been like, cool. And nothing against the MAC. All right? Nothing against the MAC. But the needs and wants of the MAC and the abilities of the schools in the MAC are not the same as the schools in the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference and most of the other Power 5 schools. They're just not. I was talking to somebody in administration today, and I was like, look, I consider a school like East Carolina to be a big-time sports school. But their budget is about a third of South Carolina's. And if you think about East Carolina, you're like, oh, yeah, East Carolina. That's good. That's a good sports school. And it is. But you're nowhere close budget-wise in the things that you are able to do, even if you sponsor basically the same amount of sports and have the same amount of kids on campus and play sports. And so Greg Sankey basically said he was in Phoenix for an NCAA convention. We talked to our good friend Ben Portnoy from out there at the same time. This was just a few weeks ago. But he was asked, how did this Big Ten SEC partnership come about? And he basically said that someone from outside the realm of those two leagues said, hey, when are you guys just going to tell us what it is you want? And at that point, he said the light bulb went off. He called Tony Petitti. They each reached out to their presidents and chancellors and ADs, got everybody on board. Y'all good? If the two of us begin to put something together, yep, all good. Let's do it. They announced it last week. And that's where it is. Now, does that mean that some big schools that are outside that purview, like Florida State and North Carolina and Clemson and Kansas and Oklahoma State, are going to be left in the cold? No, they're not going to be left in the cold. This isn't anything that has decision-making power, but it's something that and again, as Pete Thamel put it yesterday, Elijah, and I really liked it, he's right. Even though Greg didn't say this yesterday, Pete was right. This is basically saying Michigan doesn't want Eastern Michigan having a say in what Michigan does anymore. Because right now, as a member of Division I, they do. It's not to say you can't tell me what to do. It's that your vote shouldn't be equal to my vote anymore because we do not live in the same neighborhood. We just do not have. This would be if minor league baseball didn't have affiliations with major league clubs. This would be like the Fireflies having the exact same vote as the Braves. We wouldn't do that otherwise, would we? But in Division I, with how many right now?
363.
Come on. I mean, with all due respect, and this is going to make some people mad, and I'm sorry, Charleston Southern basically has the same vote as South Carolina or Clemson. Right? I mean, Kennesaw State basically has the same vote as Georgia. Can't do that. I'm not. I know that sounds mean, and I'm sorry. I really am. I'm a nice person, and I love sports. I love the opportunities that they present at every level. I do. Grown up doing it. It's why I do it for a living. I love sports, but I'm also a realist. And so many schools of late, your Charlottes and Charleston Southern and such around here, have gotten into D1 not because they think they're going to ever win titles in D1. Man, I want some of that cash. Well, it's just time for that there's still a place, but it's not at the highest level anymore. So that's what Greg said. So now the Big Ten and the SEC, it feels like, hopefully within the semester, are going to put something forth. This is what we want. This is what we can afford. How many of the rest of you can afford it? Hop on board the train. Let's see where it goes. But if you can't, enjoy the ride on another train. So, but that part was interesting because that was just a few weeks ago, right? That was like the second week of January. What do you want? All right, now we're going to tell you. Hopefully, here we go. But we'll hear from that a little bit later on. A lot more to do on today's program. I've got a cool story later about the Olympics we'll get into. It's a quick one, so it won't be something that we take a lot of time on.
Super cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It's neat. We'll talk about that later. But on the other side of the break, I'm going to toss things over to Elijah. He was down at the football facility today as Gamecock football introduced, a couple of dozen new transfer players, yeah?
Enough to where even in the allotted media time, I was not able to get to everyone. I had to start prioritizing for a little bit, but it was fun. It was got to talk to a lot of new players about why they wanted to come to South Carolina.
It's going to be fun, cool. And you'll hear all of that and more throughout the day as the postgame show rolls on. Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa, been telling you about them for a long time, and I'm telling you right now is a great time to call them if you and your family have been thinking about getting that dream pool in the backyard. Do it now because, man, by the time they're about done with you, it'll be time to jump right in because the warm weather's coming. I mean, we're almost out of the cold here in Columbia, South Carolina, or the whole Midlands of South Carolina. Call them up. Check them out. They'll come to you, too. But if you want to go see them first and talk about some ideas, they're at 5541 Sunset Boulevard. If you've already got a pool, by the way, you can take some water samples in. They'll test it for you, tell you what you need, maybe change things up a little bit in terms of the chemicals involved. Plus, they can schedule weekly pool cleanings. Maybe if you do have one, some equipment repair. But if you don't have one, get into Pete Ale Wine and see what they can do for you. Check them out online as well, PeteAleWinePools.com. Like the two beverages, ale and wine, it's Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa. And invite Elijah and me over to jump in. 17 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Thursday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Again, the voice of Carolina women's basketball, Brad Muller, coming up a little over an hour's time. Gamecocks hosting Mizzou tonight, UConn on Sunday. Brad and Elijah and I can discuss two games at once. It's perfectly acceptable. Well, not at once. We'll talk about one game then another, but coaches and players get all skittish about more than don't overlook the opponent.
They don't like looking ahead.
Yeah. And I don't blame them.
But that is our job.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to.
Well, we're not going to have Brad again tomorrow.
Exactly.
And we have another game over the weekend. Therefore, we need to do the two birds, one stone kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's efficient, and it's what we do here. We're allowed to look ahead, always.
I appreciate you calling it efficient. I'm usually kind of wasteful, so that's good.
Well, not in this interview, we won't be.
That's right.
No, sir.
Speaking of interviews and efficiency, those two things were on display today. Elijah and many others on the beat were down at the football facility for, I'll call it Transfer Media Day, even if they just want to say media availability sounds too vanilla.
Transfer Media Day sounds
more fun. Yeah,
yeah,
it sounds more fun. But I'll toss it to Mr. Campbell to set us up.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. I'll start my first one of the day. Got to sit down with a couple of other reporters on the Gamecock beat and talk with new wide receiver Jared Brown. He is the new slot receiver that is coming here from Coastal Carolina. So we got into a lot of things with him about building onto his route tree, which NFL wide receivers he likes to emulate his game after. A pretty fun conversation.
It is a very loving culture. I like what they have going on. You know, the team is like a brotherhood right now, and that's just what I wanted to come into when I hit the transfer portal.
What have kind of your early conversations with Dowell Loggins been like, just looking at this offense?
Yeah, I mean, he was just, you know, showing different ways he can get everyone the ball. You know, he's spaced the ball out. He throws it. He stretches the field. He can do different things with different people, put him in different spots. So I like the opportunity that I came into. So that's what I chose.
How do you feel like your background kind of bodes well for this offense and where you feel like you could fit as a receiver?
Yeah, you know, last year when I was at Coastal, we did move around a lot. We moved myself in the slot and outside, you know, different places. So Coach Loggins said that he could do some of the same things. So, you know, that's something I want to come into.
Just kind of in your early impressions of Coach Coley.
Say again?
Just kind of your early impressions of Coach Coley.
Oh, Coach Coley, he's a cool coach. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's been at the big time schools. He knows what he's talking about. So.
How did the offense last year? Because the offense last year we had some explosive parts of the season. What was any of that appealing to you in terms of finding a new offense to find yourself in? Do you see yourself fitting in that pretty well?
Yes, the way that they used Xavier Gett last year, I really like that. They were moving him around the slot, outside to the boundary, everything. So I feel like if I want to make it to the next level, I have to show that I can be versatile. So I feel like if I come here, then he'll make that happen.
And what about the things that you did at Coastal? What do you think that you did there translates the best off the bat?
I would say route running. We have a lot of routes in this offense. We have a lot of routes in the route tree. So, yeah. And then on top of that, I feel like that, you know, we didn't run a lot of the routes that they have here. So if I can learn those routes and I can show that I can run any route in the route tree, then that'll be a good thing.
Yeah. What kind of goes into that too? Learning it or adding to your route tree for someone maybe who's never played the position of wide receiver. What kind of goes into seeing it and then kind of adding something to your game that you might not be as familiar with?
Yeah. It's just more of, you know, in the film room. So, you know, I watch film every day on different receivers. If it's in college or if it's in the NFL, I break down what they do and what they do well, and I try to translate that to my game.
Awesome. Which NFL receivers do you watch right now where that it kind of play the way you would like to see yourself?
Yeah, I like Tyreek Hill, obviously. You know, he's a speed guy, and I feel like I'm a speed guy too. Jalen Waddle, I watch him a lot, and I forget his first name, but it's St. Brown on the lines.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, yeah. Good slot, good in the slot too.
Good one.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I cannot bet against the Chiefs, so
Okay,
I'm gonna go. Yeah,
I'm the same way.
yeah, I can't do it.
Deploy the same, same scenario.
With the receiver room looking so different, there's so many new faces coming from everywhere. How do you guys get to know each other when you all maybe have crossed paths once or twice in your life before, but aside that, I mean, just a few weeks ago, you all were sitting down in a room for the very first time.
Right. I mean, we're all coming. I mean, we all here for the same reason. You know, we all want to win games and have a productive season this year. So, if everyone buys into each other and helps each other out, then I don't see why that can't happen.
Why do you think the Sun Belt to the SEC was the right move for you?
Just to be on a bigger platform, just to show what I could do on the bigger stage. You know, they have seen it in the Sun Belt, but I have to be consistent enough to do it here too.
Does it help that your first game is actually against a former Sun Belt opponent in ODU?
A little bit, but you know, I mean, they're gonna know who I am because they've seen me all 3 years I've been playing in the Sun Belt. Yeah.
What have you seen from Lenora Sellers so far in the rest of the quarterback room?
Yeah, I like them. You know, they're very developed right now, I would say. Lenore's is a young guy, but you know he plays like a senior. All of the quarterbacks do, so I don't see why we don't have a great season this year.
Appreciate it. I noticed you're wearing Crocs right now too. How would you grade that on comfort and style?
On comfort?
I'm a former Croc wearer myself. I haven't found any recently, but they are. It is A+ comfort.
Yeah.
So it's still in style, though.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Crocs, man.
He was wearing Crocs.
Hey, Crocs.com.
Rocking the Crocs.
If you can't find any, just go to Crocs.com.
Do you think they still make them in my size? I mean, we're a 14. I don't know if they make Crocs.
Yeah.
That big? It'd be cool if they did.
I don't know. If not, somebody's got some. There just might be some bad colors they never sold, man. You know? But if you're just here for comfort, don't worry about how they look.
No. You got to fit, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. But, I mean, if you get, like, some outlandish style, you know, back when Crocs were in their heyday and they made all kinds of crazy things.
I'm telling you, every day at school, I would wear, when like in middle school, I would definitely wear the fuzzy Crocs that had the insoles that were really warm.
Sure.
Kept my feet warm all day. They're
Well,
fantastic.
I mean, if Jared Brown, who's, 21 years old, is rocking the Crocs, man, then that says the kids are still good with it.
He said he did confirm they're still in.
Yeah. I think Crocs are here to stay, right?
They should be. Yeah.
You
If we ran a
still put
poll on that, I think more people would say yes than
Still put the little things in them to, like, jazz them up.
Oh, yeah. He had a Minnesota Vikings logo.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, nice.
Man, when my girls were little, they got all those little things, man. That was fun buying those for them, little
The
presents.
customizable
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. Jared Brown, big fan of Miami Dolphins receivers and Crocs.
Way to go, Jared. Do we have time to get into Gage now, or you want to hit a break?
Yeah,
here?
we'll go ahead and get into Gage. And of course, the other big transfer receivers they got was Gage Larvidan from Miami of Ohio, was able to get a little bit of one-on-one time with him earlier this morning. All right, Elijah Campbell from the Postgame Show here with Gage Larvidan, transfer wide receiver from the Miami of Ohio, the Fighting Ben Roethlisbergers, as I like to refer to them every now and then. But man, nice to have you here. Good to have you in Columbia. What's your impression of Columbia, South Carolina so far?
It's nice. I'm from Louisiana, so it kind of gives me like a mixture of like New Orleans and Baton Rouge. It's like a somewhat city area, somewhat kind of little country area. You know what I mean? So it's the best of both worlds. I like it.
What's your early impressions of the new wide receivers coach, Coach Coley?
Oh, I love Coach Coley. Like I was telling him earlier, it's kind of one of those things when you meet someone, you automatically know, like, yeah, this is the guy for me. You know what I mean? Obviously, Coach Stepp recruited me. He's a great guy as well. He's one of those things where it's like, when you know, you know. Right. But Coach Coley's a great guy. He's about his business, and he's gonna be part of my success this year for sure.
And what about, I guess, this offense? Do you think you can come in and really help improve on it right away? Because there's a lot of I guess, departing pieces that help this offense, especially at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I mean, the wide receiver position was basically wide open, and that's kind of, part of the reasoning why I chose South Carolina for sure. There's always competition everywhere you go. No one's afraid to compete. It's the SEC, you're going to compete wherever you go. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me. Like you said, we had a 1,000-yard receiver last year. He's gone. Another receiver who entered the transfer portal as well. So, but the good thing about it is it's a lot of hungry guys. A lot of guys who are ready to establish and prove themselves amongst the world, to be honest. So.
Are there any wide receivers in the league that you kind of watch extra film on to emulate? We were talking to Jared Brown earlier. He was watching a lot of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill film to kind of add things to his route tree.
Yeah, we watched that together. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, kind of, especially. I mean, he's a little taller than me, but we both have the same kind of body style, same type of body for sure. So we kind of. For the most part, it would be foolish for me to go watch A.J. Brown. You know what I mean? I can't do what A.J. Brown does. So, like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, you know what I mean? Those kind of smaller guys. So, that's kind of who I look at. You know, at the end of the day, I try to play my style of football, but, you know, there's always people that you look up to.
And one of my favorite things about your transfer path here, it's from a league like the MAC to the SEC. And that's kind of like a trend in modern college football, too, is a lot of guys play in the MAC and end up getting to move up to the SEC. What's that transition, do you think, going to be like for you? How are you going to be able to make that transition from playing at a conference that has a ton of talent? It's just maybe not as nationally recognized as like the SEC.
I mean, I don't think it's as tough as people would make it seem, for sure. It's football at the end of the day, you know what I mean? I have teammates at Miami Ohio who can come here and play right now. And that's I say that with the utmost respect to all my teammates that are here right now. So it's just football at the end of the day. And my journey to get here was more than just Miami, Ohio. A lot of people don't know I signed Division II out of high school. And then at the last second, I went to my first school, Southeastern Louisiana, which was a great place. I have teammates there who can play here. You know what I mean? So it's just about, you know, taking advantage of your opportunities and then just being the best person that you can be. You know what I mean? And so, but to answer your question, it's not as difficult as people would make it seem. I'm getting it as of now.
Yeah.
Sure.
And last question now. I saved this one from when David got here.
Okay.
Who's winning the Super Bowl? I'm not going to tell you who he's a fan of. So we're going to get
actually the one I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Who's winning the Super Bowl? I got the 49ers, man. I don't think the Chiefs are going to beat them twice.
Okay, so you have already on David Foniger's A+ list. So, Gage, appreciate your time.
Well done. And DC, I'm sure I can picture David just giving the nod and then my man. A lot more that Elijah did down at the facility on Transfer Media Day as the postgame show continues. Talking Gamecock football on this Thursday, February the 8th, as the program had a transfer media day opportunity. And we got about a couple of dozen transfers that came into the program over the last few weeks and months. Elijah was down there amongst many others that are on the Gamecock beat. We just heard from a couple of guys that catch passes. Now time to hear from guys that toss those around. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, one of the newest South Carolina quarterbacks, Robbie Ashford, transfer from Auburn, was originally at Oregon, so this is his second time doing the transfer deal. He was able to speak with me and Jack Veltri, sat down with him for a little bit, and this is one of the more impressive interviews I think we did of the day, because this might be the most honest I think anybody was with us. A really fascinating discussion here for about the next 7.5 minutes. So this was me and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central, friend of the show and friend of our YouTube page, as we do some post-game videos after each Hoops game. So this is our conversation.
You guys did a good job the other night, by the way. I meant to tell you that yesterday. I forgot. So.
Well, thank you.
Well done.
See, and it got a lot of views, and I think it got a lot of views because of Jack's sweater.
Oh, well.
That was a very nice sweater.
Sure.
He brings it when it comes to rocking the sweaters at CLA. Jack Veltri brings it.
There it is.
Every time. This is me and Jack with new South Carolina quarterback Robbie Ashford.
You've obviously been at Oregon and then now Auburn and stuff. How much has those experiences kind of helped you get to this point? And what was it kind of like playing in the SEC when you were at Auburn?
Yeah, going to two well-known programs, it's definitely taught me a lot. There's a lot of life lessons at that, too. Kind of at Oregon, I went through some of my darkest times, worst times. Wasn't that I was homesick, it's just being in a different environment, kind of the situation that was going on. It taught me a lot, but I was blessed to go through that. And then going to Auburn, kind of a lot of instability. Lost my head coach 8 games into my first year. Got a new coach. Circumstances were kind of weird out there, and let's just say that. A lot of things I couldn't control.
Yeah.
So, it taught me a lot. It just taught me how to persevere and just keep going. It's a reason why I'm still here today. The Lord has blessed me to keep me on my feet, and He tells me every single day, man, you're here for a reason. I came to Columbia for a reason, and He brought me here for a reason. So just being in those situations has taught me a lot, and I hope to bring a lot of the things I've learned, and bring them in a positive way over here. And, just playing in the SEC, it's the greatest conference in the country. I was looking at a lot of schools, and a lot of schools are promising things, but at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to stay in the SEC, and I wanted to come compete for a job. I didn't want anything handed to me. I wanted to earn the trust and respect of my coaches and teammates, because I feel like that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. My coaches and teammates have to trust me and respect me for me to be their guy. And just that opportunity to come in here and do that, listening to Coach D-Lo, just what he has to offer. I've never seen some of the stuff he showed me, and I'm like, man, I've never even thought of it in this light. He's, I'd say, the best in the business. Just to see Spencer's improvement from the 22 season, which was a great year, to the 23 season, just to see how much more pro-ready he is how could you look at that and not be intrigued and be like, man, I would love to go play for a coach like that. I just haven't had the development from coaches. There's a lot of instability, like I said, and just a lot of guys who I feel like haven't just been the greatest teachers of all. But once I met D-Lo, I was like, man, I can learn a lot. He can help me improve just on the little things. I played in this conference, and it's a gauntlet week in and week out. And I remember them vividly telling her, like, man, you're an SEC player. It was like, we wouldn't want you if you weren't. And it's like, you played in this conference, in circumstances you couldn't handle, and we know that. And just to hear that from them meant a lot, because, a lot of people see the things that go on and they think they know everything, but they don't know the real. So you let those couch coaches be couch coaches, but the boss man and coaches like Coach D-Lo, they know the real, what's going on. They know there's a lot of circumstances I couldn't control in Auburn, but they say there's a reason why we're on the phone with you and we want you here. And when they brought me here, they showed me nothing but love, and they told me straight up, hey, it's a competition, and as a competitor, that's all I could ask for. Just opportunity to compete, because it only makes me better and this room better. And at the end of the day, we always want to get better in any type of step or fashion. Whoever's in the game, whoever's starting, and just listening to them, and just their core values, I mean, they stand for a lot. And I mean, it's a family atmosphere out here. Everybody in this building is great. They've been nothing but welcoming and loving to me, just showing me I'm a part of the family, and that's all I could ask for. So
yeah, what has it kind of been like working with Davis and Lenoris and even Luke and stuff? And obviously Coach Beamer, one of the things he said was that he's not going to promise anyone a starting job. You'll have to compete and win the job here. What does that say about the way he coaches compared to some guys that might just promise you everything?
I mean, that shows he's real. I mean, it's a lot of coaches who will promise kids a lot of things and they don't live up to that. And he didn't promise me anything. He just promised me the opportunity to compete. And I mean, that's all I could ask for. In 2022, Coach Harsin did that for me. And like I said, that's all I could ask for. And just working with those guys, just with Luke, Lenoris, Davis, Dante, I mean, it's been great. Luke is a freak athlete. I mean, literally can do anything on the field. He's got some of the best sure hands I've ever seen. Like, just throwing to him, I'm like, bro, you used to play quarterback and your hands are like this. Like, man, Luke's a great guy. I mean, just all those guys are great. I mean, it's been fun just us getting to work together and just keep getting better every single day because, I mean, these workouts are a grind coach a day. And that staff, I mean, they put us through it, but we know we need it to get through this conference schedule we have and just this schedule as a whole. I mean, because I feel like we got probably one of the toughest in the country, but they're getting us prepared for it, and we're trying to prepare ourselves every single day. We go out there with workouts, throwing, whatever we do, we're trying to just get 1% better. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. So, I mean, it's been great to work with those guys. They've been nothing but caring and just showing me I'm a part of the family, like I said. So it's been great to work with them. I'm excited to just keep continuing to work with them and just hopefully bring it back to Columbia on the top. So
yeah, well, thank you so much, man.
Robbie, you mentioned the instability at Auburn. A lot of stuff was going on there, and it was kind of hard for you to get your footing. But what did you learn from a football standpoint with so much instability at a place? What did you learn about yourself as a quarterback, and then how do you think that's kind of prepared you to be able to come into a quarterback battle here this upcoming spring?
Yeah, I mean, it taught me a lot. Just really the main part is a business. It's a business, and how the game has changed now. There's a lot of things you can't control. A lot of people can get promised things, and I mean, it's nothing you can do besides that. If they get promised something, you just got to put your head down and work. And that's kind of what I had to do in that 23 season, do the promises that were made. So I had to put my head down and just work and just whatever I got, do it to the best of my ability, be there for my guys. And that taught me you always know life isn't fair, but that was a true definition of life isn't fair. But I'm blessed to go through it because it taught me a lot and just a lot to bring over here. It definitely put me in some hard times, something like, man, like, I'm just not feeling it anymore, but the Lord kept me going, and he just kept telling me every day, man, you're going to be fine. You're going to end up landing where you need to be. And thankfully that happened to be in Columbia. I mean, just everything I went through, it's been a blessing. You look back on that, but at the beginning you're like, man, why is this happening to me? But at the end, I know the Lord has a plan for me, and then right now I might not know his plan, but when it happens, I'll know. So I'm just thankful to still be here. I mean, it's taught me a lot, but like I said, in the day, I'm just thankful to still be here, and just to have a coaching staff that believes in me, that's all I could ask for.
And now that I got David here, who's winning the Super Bowl? Most important question.
Okay. Oh, who's winning the Super Bowl? Oh, I like the 49ers.
Oh, man. That's another 49ers.
I like the 49ers.
See, David here, lifelong 49ers fan. Engage picked him as well. So we got two 49ers, one Chiefs vote so far. So.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Not the gospel spread.
DC, was he wearing a 49ers shirt today?
No, he just had a bleep-eating grin every time somebody asked the question. You could tell he's the most eager to hear people's answer.
All right. Or maybe it's because there's two Gamecocks on the Niners and none on the Chiefs.
Now, there is a player that was there today that did pick the Niners because of that reason.
Okay. We'll get into some of the things that Robbie said. What a fine young man. Postgame show rolling on. Welcome back into the Postgame Show here on this Thursday afternoon. A couple of reminders. First off, go to 1075thegame.com. You still have a little bit of time to register for our Thanksgiving weekend baseball package. You'll win tickets to all 3 games of the opening series against Miami of Ohio. We're going to put you up at the Hilton Garden Inn right down the street, right down there. If you're watching on YouTube, right down there. And if you're not, trust me, it's right down there on Gervais Street. Right.
Can't miss it. There's a sign.
They're going to feed you. It's great. Yeah. Terry Ford's going to show up at your door Saturday night at like 11:30.
He's going to sing a love song a cappella. A love song of your choice. So you have to enter that in whenever you enter the information. That's going to be a question that's asked. So you got to be prepared to think what range you think Terry is good in, and then answer accordingly.
You know, if he asks to sleep on the pullout, just come up with something.
Be prepared to have an excuse.
Here's what I fear, though, is that Gunner will have already asked to use the pullout sofa, which will give you a legitimate excuse to tell Ford to take a hike. But, I mean, you know.
He might not take no for an answer either. So you got to be ready.
So these are the pitfalls when you win a contest from a sports radio station. But we do thank the fine people at the Hilton Garden Inn for providing this, and I hope it all goes really well. But
and hope they don't have to call security to get Terry out of there. They're minus odds right now.
You know, so there's that. But you know what? Roll those dice anyway. Go log on to 1075thegame.com. Register. The winner's going to be announced tomorrow.
7:30.
So, you know, you have you literally have a very small amount of time. And a much easier contest with no real concerns over Bill Gunner or Terry Ford needing to use the pull-out sofa. In just a few minutes, I will tell you the phone number and what caller to be to win a pair of tickets to tonight's Carolina women's basketball game as the #1 Gamecocks take on Mizzou. That is coming up in mere minutes, I promise. Not yet.
Minutes.
If you call now, you'll have to get hung up on and start all over again. So
which isn't fun.
Hold on. Just hang on. It's coming up soon. That was neat to hear from Robbie Ashford. I love that they're on, you know, the way they treat D'Lo, Coach D'Lo. That was cool. Earlier in the week, if you guys missed it, and you were there, so I want you to expound more on this. But Shane Beamer did say, look, Lenoris is going to get the first snap, basically, of spring ball. And then, boom, the competition is on. And I think you want that. We've talked a lot. We've talked with Shane. You and I had Shane on the program back in December. We love Lenoris. We believe we can do good things with Lenoris, but we've got to provide Lenoris with both competition and, as you like to put it, Elijah, for a guy who uses his legs like he does, some insurance. Because in this sport, you don't ever know.
Yeah, and that's, you know, when you run the football and you run it well, you're not always going to be in a position where you can go out of bounds or slide. Things definitely happen, and I'm all for going into the portal and trying to injury-proof your team as much as possible. And I think Robbie Ashford is the perfect insurance policy and a guy that, you know, if a helmet comes off during a play, you can trust him to run a snap out there and to be competent doing so. And a guy who you wouldn't have to change the offense much for, because both guys do have very similar skill sets.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up that way, too, about the helmet coming off, because I was just thinking the same thing. This doesn't mean, you know, like if he goes down for, you know, a couple of games or something, God forbid, you know. Sometimes you might just get popped on the thigh real good or roll an ankle for a second, and nothing that's major, but you need to come out. Or that's a great point that you make. You know, the helmet pops off. Well, somebody's got to go in there. I also liked how Robbie really talked about Luke Doty.
Very, very high on Luke Doty. Yeah. He is.
And I suppose Luke is still, you know, not as much, but he's always, I think until he leaves, he's got one more year, he'll be the emergency quarterback, right? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, they'll put him behind glass, and it's a break in case of emergency.
But still maybe some things when you've got a bunch of guys out there at once, which is cool. And, you know, I still think Luke throws a couple of passes this year at some point for some reason. Probably not emergency.
For some trickeration.
Yeah, probably not emergency.
For some sleight of hand action.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty cool.
So we'll have more on football for you. Want to let you hear a little bit of what Greg Sankey had to say. We'll do that coming up in just a little bit as well. And again, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Brad Muller talking Carolina women's basketball. Right now, caller 5, 803-404-6100, 803-404-6100. Give us a shout. Caller 5. You get a pair of tickets to tonight's 7 o'clock game between number 1 Carolina and the Missouri Tigers, a team that they don't like. A lot of bad blood in this rivalry. So
some history.
That could be fun. Hour 2 of the postgame show coming at you. Good luck. And while Elijah does that, let me tell you about our great friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. My wife and I, happy customers of Palmetto Citizens. As a local not-for-profit financial institution, Palmetto Citizens is here to help you and your family with all of your financial needs. Checking, banking, savings, credit cards, car loans, mortgages, home equity lines, you name it. And because they are local and not a bank, but a credit union, they can return a lot of the things that go to shareholders back into the community as lower rates, lower fees. Makes it a lot easier for you. If you're ready to apply for any of those loans or anything else, you can also work with them to customize payments and terms to fit your needs and budget. Just go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more or visit any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. There's a lot of them across. We use the Millwood branch, whichever one you use. Great people to work with. Check them out. Palmetto Citizens. Achieve your potential. Hour number 2 of the Postgame Show coming at you 4 o'clock on this Thursday. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us. Bottom of the hour, our good friend Brad Muller, the voice of Carolina women's basketball, here to preview not only tonight's game against Mizzou, but Sunday afternoon's tilt with the UConn Huskies. Gamecocks doing these next couple without superstar Camila Cardoso, who is away with her Brazilian national team looking to qualify for the Olympics. Best of luck to them. Hope they make it. It'd be pretty cool to have Gamecocks representing multiple nations over in Paris. Speaking of Paris, we got a pretty cool little story, just something we'll tell you about a little bit later on about what's going on at the Olympics. It's kind of neat, and maybe some Gamecocks will get to be part of that. I guess I don't want to be too specific yet.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it is really cool.
It's cool. So we'll do that for you. I do have some breaking news. The Southeastern Conference today has announced its revenue distribution for the 2022-23 fiscal year, which officially ended last August. And Greg Sankey is now roaming all across the conference with 14 of those big, oversized novelty checks that will each, give or take, say $51.3 million per school.
Do you have to take those big checks to a big bank that cashes big checks?
Yeah. Well, I think the bank they're fine. It's hard. Now you can take a picture, like on your phone of your check. So you just got to stand farther back.
Okay, that makes sense. I did see semi-pro, and Duke's had a hard time cashing the check from the Flint Tropics.
These days with the phone deposit the way it is, you just have to. Again, you can't stand right up on it.
So you no longer have to go to the big check bank.
Right.
Interesting.
Which is nice. Says the commissioner in a release. Wouldn't it be awesome if you took it down there?
I would like to cash this in dollar bills that are equally as large.
I love, like in Happy Gilmore when he keeps them all in the back of the car. It's just great. I love that movie, man. That's my favorite Adam Sandler. I'll get back to this. It is. That's my favorite Adam Sandler movie. He's got some good ones, but that is absolutely my favorite.
I might rank that slightly below Billy Madison.
Billy Madison's probably number 2.
That's one of the few movies on this planet that I can probably quote from beginning of the movie to
yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just when Happy Gilmore came out, mid-90s. I don't know. Just maybe where my humor levels were then in my 20s. I don't know. But
yeah, mine's never graduated.
Well, mine really hasn't either. It really hasn't. I mean, I love The Hangover. And you know what's underappreciated as a fantastic, maybe it's not underappreciated, but you know what movie I love? Bridesmaids.
That is, yeah.
Bridesmaids is hilarious.
A+ humor.
I rank it up there with the greats. I don't put, because there's some comedies, like I love Will Ferrell. I don't really put any of Will Ferrell's movies into the just all-time great comedy category, because there's always just a little something, and that's not. They're all funny,
right?
But I'm talking about movies from my youth, like Vacation, Caddyshack, Stripes. Airplane is it's a different brand of comedy, but yes. But and I wouldn't put Happy Gilmore in that vein either. But The Hangover, the first one, and Bridesmaids, I do put into that category.
I put Bridesmaids up there as well. I remember it's one of those, I just judge it by how hard do I laugh upon the first watch, and that was one where the first watch got a couple.
It doesn't stop.
Billy laughs.
It doesn't stop, man. Yeah, no, it was the food, and then you have to finish the line, which I can't say. But Kristen Wiig, no, it was the food.
One of the funniest people on the planet, Kristen.
She's great. Anyway, where were we? Oversized novelty checks. Greg Sankey, quote, SEC member universities
He's got a lot of those.
Are proud to support thousands of student athletes who participate in broad-based athletics programs across the league. SEC universities are committed to providing a high level of experience for all of our participants through an impactful and life-changing college experience that includes world-class support in coaching, training, academic counseling, medical care, mental health support, nutrition, life skills development, and post-eligibility healthcare coverage for student athletes. So once again, the SEC distributing a total of $718 million. The overall, again, or excuse me, the average is $51.3 million per school. Now, again, if you get fined when your fans rush the court and things like that, so it's average of 51.3. Every school doesn't get that. I'm pretty sure anyway, they would just keep that. So some novelty checks look a little different.
Some are different sizes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But last year, by the way, the league distributed $49.9 million. So you're looking at about $1.5 million per school difference this year. So it's going up.
$1 million.
That's right. Yeah. And next year, even with 16 schools and Texas and Oklahoma, the SEC doesn't do it the way some leagues do it. Like, come on in and we'll give you some of the money. Maybe.
If you're nice.
SMU.
As long as you're not bragging about how much you've already gotten, you don't need it.
If y'all didn't hear the story this week, the College Football Playoff executive committee met, and they were going over some of the things for the expanded playoff. And by the way, quick aside, Ward Manuel, the Michigan athletics director, will be the new chair of the CFP selection committee. And I got a hunch he's not going to have to worry about recusing himself this year. Michigan might take a step back.
Yeah.
Not a big step back.
There have been some notable coaching changes.
I could, and talent loss. I could see Michigan going 9-3.
I would say, 8-4 even on the table because, who's coming into the Big Ten this year?
Oregon's good. Do they play Oregon? I haven't looked at their schedule.
They don't. They do play Washington.
Washington.
On the same day that Ole Miss is here in Columbia.
I'd rather play.
Those two teams are pretty good.
I'd rather play Washington next year than Oregon.
Having to face Will Rogers.
Oregon's good.
Oregon's very good.
Oregon can play on the line. Oregon can come in and play Big Ten football.
Oregon's scary.
Yeah, they're good.
And they're bringing a lot of people back. Oh, and they got Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal, who only threw for a gajillion yards at Oklahoma this past year.
Remember, Oregon had 2 losses by a combined 6 points, 3-point losses each to Washington. That's it. They were good, man. They were good.
Very good. Washington just somehow had their number in close games.
They did.
Somehow.
Did anybody ever put a Vegas line on what Oregon versus Florida State might have looked like in terms of Florida State? And we were so good. We shouldn't have been left out.
That would have been interesting to see.
I bet you Oregon would have been favored.
By at least a touchdown.
Yeah.
I would say those two teams on a neutral field right now, Oregon's 7.5 point favorite.
That sounds right. I'll take that. I was even thinking 9. But, yeah, I'll give you 7.5.
Bump it up a little bit.
Not quite 10, but I'll give you that.
I might buy it down to 7.5.
Okay, that's fine. So there you go. And again, next year it will likely go up, and Texas and Oklahoma will share in that. So continuing to see financial gain inside the Southeastern Conference. On that note, the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, was on the Paul Feinbaum program yesterday. And do I have time to do? Yeah, I'm going to probably bridge this, but more than anything else, I want you to start here. I mentioned this an hour ago, but only paraphrasing what Greg had to say to Paul. But cut number 8, this is a little longer explanation, but Greg Sankey was asked, how did this partnership with the Big Ten come about?
Really go back to being in Houston in a college football playoff management committee meeting, not making a lot of progress. At least in that room you can make progress. But I look back over really the last 2.5, 3 years, the effort to think about a playoff expansion that others asked for, that others sought, that others ran to the microphone and in some ways demanded, the inability to make progress on decisions. And then I left Houston, hopped on a Southwest airplane that generates its own level of Twitter interest when I show that particular seating arrangement, and spent half a day in a Division I management council, Division I council meeting as it's called now, a couple other committees where we're just not making the kind of progress on the really important issues. We talk about those. This draft is introduced, this direction might be changed. And when I left, I thought about, well, if we just kind of keep going through these same types of environments to guide our decisions or rely on for our decisions, then we're going to have the same pace of change, the same discourse, the same thinking that ideas are going to be generated from some other corner, and we need to make sure we take that responsibility. Now, understand, as a conference, we have a presidential working group looking at what the future could look like. I know others have had the same thing. And when I left those meetings that weekend, I called Tony and just said, Tony, could we think about a little bit different approach? It was on his mind. What was really important for me is it was a matter of weeks when Tony was first hired. He traveled to Birmingham. We had a great dinner and great visit, just thinking about what was on his agenda starting out. What's on my agenda as I continue. And he responded with interest, his membership responded with interest, and that produced an announcement that says we're going to try to take that responsibility of leadership and see if we can develop some ideas that could help us, whether it's dealing with court cases that have been decided and how college athletics looks on the backside there, litigation that's in front of us, state legislation that seems to change daily. We obviously have attorneys general that have been involved now in some of these state level of activities. None of that's contributing to the solid type of collegiate environment that we need.
The number one thing I heard in there, and again, that was the Commissioner Greg Sankey on the Paul Feinbaum program yesterday. 2 times he said it. I'll just pick one that I wrote down: the inability to make progress. And this is the issue. And let me say for the second time today, and I don't know how many times, as my late mother would have said, for the umpteenth time, I'm sorry that it sounds snobbish for a guy like me that covers the Southeastern Conference or went to a Southeastern Conference school or anything like that. And I love my friends that went to smaller schools. I love sports at every level. But when you're in a room with people whose budgets as a total athletic department might be the same as the budget for a Southeastern Conference basketball team, you've just got differences. It doesn't make it does. Listen, when they want to get together, Elijah, and talk about like the rules of the games, that's cool. It really is. If you want to talk about not having kickoffs anymore, or
a competition committee, that would be.
The shot clock, a pitch clock, things like that. That's cool. Maybe one day college football moves the hash marks in like the NFL. I don't know. Then every level can talk about those things together. But when it comes to paying athletes or athletic budgets or travel budgets or TV revenue or how to share, you just can't. And I think that was the problem that Greg was talking about on that transformation committee. Like, we just sit there and talk. Because the smaller schools really like, well, hey, we're Division I. And yeah, you are. But just kept getting in the way. And Greg said as well, and we'll let you hear from, a little bit more from him on the other side, hey, what do you guys want? Just tell us what you want. But it's not like, well, tell us what you want and we'll vote for it. Again, I think the autonomy part needs to come out. But Greg said that what do you in the Big Ten want? You're clearly the big dogs. And he said that's what led him and Tony Petitti to just go, okay, let's figure that out. We'll have more from what the commissioner had to say on that. Again, Elijah was down at Gamecock Football, the Transfer Media Day. So we'll have more of that for you. And our good friend Brad Muller coming up in about 15 minutes to preview tonight's basketball game. So a busy Thursday continuing. More from Greg Sankey on the transformation, potentially, of college athletics as the postgame show continues. 20 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon, February the 8th. Now's a good time, real quick, even though I doubt she'll hear it. But my number 2 daughter, Maddie.
By age or ranking?
No, by age. No, not by ranking. No. I was going to, when you said ranking, I thought I was thinking you were going to go like in birth order, but that's age.
Oh, we're talking power ranking.
No. I don't. No.
Sounds like
no.
in the deep inner thoughts.
No, there's none of that. But happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. She works here in the building. I didn't see her. I left a note on her car.
Oh,
that's
sweet.
I don't know if she's seen it.
See, that the thing with leaving the note on the car is that it's a dangerous game because, like myself, I oftentimes am very oblivious to the world around me. And if I have headphones in, which I often do when walking to my car, I'm on a one-track mind.
Yeah.
And there have been plenty of times where, like, my girlfriend would try to leave a note on my car when we first started dating, or, a ticket when I was in college would be on the windshield. And, I don't realize it until I'm on the interstate and it's flapping around. And I was like, wait a minute. That was placed there.
And I don't want to feel like should I text her and say, did you get my note? Because then I feel like I'm being like needy or something.
Pushy, yeah.
But
because then it feels like you're fishing for a compliment.
Yeah. Which I'm definitely not.
Yeah.
But I thought I left it conspicuously, and maybe she did and just hasn't had a chance. So I don't want to be like she's like, Dad, I'll get to you. Right. So, but I don't want it to be sitting there. So I left it on the back, like on the back.
The back windshield?
Yeah. But I put it in a place where she should be able to see it when she walks to her car because I stuck it on the back windshield wiper.
How big is the note? Are we talking like novelty check size? Because then you can't miss that.
It's actually just a business card.
There's a good chance that thing will not be seen.
Yeah. I could have left 2.
Or could have left it on like the driver's side.
Well,
door,
I should have.
right
I mean, that would have been easy. I thought where I had it, she'd see it, and maybe she did. Again, I don't know yet. I don't know. But happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
She wants nothing to do with her mother and me tonight, but definitely wants us to take her out on Saturday.
Oh.
No, not all. What if I had planned tonight? I told her, I was like, today's your birthday. Yeah, Dad, I'm doing something.
See,
get used to it.
This is what you signed up for.
Get used to it. If you have kids under 10, man, you throw the hell out of a birthday party now because the day will come when it's like,
they don't want to spend the birthday party with you anymore at a certain age.
I'm used to it, man. I'm used to it. One more cut from Greg Sankey on the Paul Feinbaum program, speaking about the new partnership between the Big Ten and Southeastern Conference. Cut 9, please, Elijah Campbell. Greg was asked, all right, so now we know why you're needing to do this. What does the future look like?
Well, I think what it really means, going back to my earlier question, is the people have asked, what is it that you see in the future? People have commented about the leadership role, and we accept that. I think sometimes you make these announcements, and it does change relationships. When we made an announcement back in the summer of 21 about the SEC's growth from 14 to 16 members, that announcement changed my relationship within meeting rooms. I think it resulted in some of the delays in decision-making that I spoke of earlier. Fast forward a year later, the Big Ten made an expansion decision, and now in 23 we saw even more involving others of my colleagues. We all have a responsibility to work together. I'll go back to really my core statement, which is we don't have unilateral authority. We do have a leadership responsibility, and in my role, I want to make sure we both accept that responsibility and do our best to fulfill the expectation that we contribute in meaningful ways, not just in committee rooms, but in thinking that's present on a daily basis to the path forward. We're going to have to bring people in. For me, that COVID experience was fascinating. It was interesting for us all. It was an important learning experience for me. Even before this announcement, Paul, I'd had conversations with Tony's predecessor about how can these two conferences work together to be more effective. But what's happened is here in late January, now early February 2024, we've identified the opportunity and are working on that path ahead.
The only thing that I really worry about is that a lot of the men and women in the Big Ten that gave Kevin Warren his marching orders are still running their schools. And was there a mistrust then that is still there now, even if Tony Petitti has gone to them saying, y'all good with this? Because I think the ADs probably always were. I think the presidents probably weren't. That's just me, because that's how things work. And remember, presidents and chancellors run this, and that's fine. I'm not here to say AD should run it. No. Schools are run by presidents and chancellors, and they are ultimately responsible to their boards. I get it. I'm not here to change that at all, not even for a second. But I just wonder, I just wonder. But at the same time, how much did Kevin Warren sell them on? Hey, you better stay away from that big bad wolf. Let's be our own big bad wolf. But then they went and killed somebody, and
well, part of being a big bad wolf is to eat, or at least attempt to eat some little pigs.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12
and they did, man. They did.
Little pigs.
And they got the 4 best properties out of the Pac-12. And here we are. Here we are. So I like this. And again, if they will quickly enough come up with, I don't really know what. Yes, we want to pay players this, or we want a pool of money to reserve for that. Yes, we want schools to have immediate control of name, image, likeness. We would like kids that sign up for our schools to know they can transfer once, but maybe do have to sit out. I don't know. And again, some of these things will still be challengeable. But if you sign up for it and it's clear, can they maybe do that? Again, I don't know. But
pathways to collectively bargaining.
Yes, but as the commissioner said, and if you missed it in the first clip that we played a few minutes back, he just got tired of banging his head. And we've said before, things at the NCAA level, when it comes to really transformative change, glaciers laugh at the pace. And I say that kind of seriously and tongue-in-cheek all at once. But and sometimes they just don't move because it nobody wants it to. And I think sometimes those schools that I have qualified before or classified before, as have-nots, they still want that homecoming game check from Big State U. And this may harm that ability. I've talked many times about FCS schools no longer needing to be on Power 5 schedules. It's just not a good game. And those games are won by the FCS school less than 3% of the time over history. It's not good. It's not a good game. TV doesn't like it. Stands are 75% full. As I've said many times, whatever your stadium is, its capacity, especially in college football, is built to hold the capacity, not some of it. Just my 2 cents. But I like this. I hope this, I think, can actually work, certainly better than that NCAA Transformation Committee. But even this will be, filled with some challenges. So we'll see where it goes. All right. Come back on the other side of the break. Our good friend Brad Muller joins us. Brad's got 2 big ones to call this week at home. Missouri tonight. Bad blood, even though Carolina is a lot better than Missouri this year. And Connecticut comes to town this weekend. We'll talk women's hoops with our good friend Brad Muller as the postgame show continues. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Could be in that period here across the Midlands of South Carolina over the coming weeks. I think we got some temperatures coming in the 70s pretty soon, but still 30s overnight. AAA Heating and Air is your year-round ally against the constantly changing weather of the Midlands. And starting with a free replacement estimate, they can set the tone for quality and affordability. If you have not had your system inspected in a while, or you're not really sure how old it is, log on to callAAAtoday.com and get a free estimate on what a brand new system will cost you and your family. And then remember this, right now, the great folks at AAA are offering you 12 months, no payments, no interest, all the way through 2024. Roy and Dana Finley want to make sure that you stay comfortable for many years to come, plus you get your 15-year parts and labor guarantee. They've helped me, ready to help you stay comfortable all the time with AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that are probably causing some delays on the roadways this Thursday afternoon. We'll start off in Lexington County. Highway 60, both northbound and southbound, near St. Andrews Road. That is completely closed due to railroad repairs and maintenance. Been closed for a few days now. In Richland County, an accident's been reported at Alpine Road at I-20. Traffic moving pretty slowly through there. And another one here in Richland County, an accident just recently been reported over on US 176 at Broad River Road near Woodrow Street.
Time to talk some Carolina women's basketball. The number one Gamecocks back on the hardwood tonight at Colonial Life Arena. The Missouri Tigers in town. Gamecocks at 21-0 9-0 in conference play. Mizzou comes in 500 overall, but just 2-7 in the league. This has, in years past, had a little animosity into the mix. I don't know that that's there tonight. To discuss that and more, we welcome back onto the program the voice of Carolina women's basketball, our good friend Brad Muller. Interesting week here, sir, as for the next couple of games, Carolina will go into these ball games without one of, and maybe the biggest star player of the season in Camila Cardoso. I from my own point of view, talk me down here, or however you want to talk to me. I think it's a deal, Brad, but because of Chloe Kitts, Sanaya Fagan, Ashlyn Watkins, I don't know how big a deal it really is.
Well, it's a big deal when you're, someone who's averaging basically a double-double and leads the SEC in blocks is going to be absent for 2 games to play with their national team. It's certainly a loss because as good as those players are that have been coming off the bench, there's a reason why Camilla was starting in front of them, right? And so, yeah, it's a loss because when you look at it, just what does South Carolina traditionally like to do under Coach Don Silly? They like to get it inside, okay? Now, in years past when everyone was just doubling down on Aaliyah Boston and daring you to shoot from the outside, the Gamecocks didn't exactly have the weapons in recent years to consistently shoot from the outside. Well, this year, for most of the year, they do have those weapons shooting from the outside. The Gamecocks, lead the SEC in three-point shooting, and so when you have that inside and you have the outside game going, it really makes it tough on defenses. Now you take Camilla out. Now, you've still got some good ones down there, whether you use Ashlyn Watkins or Sanaya Fagan, but you take the biggest player on the floor out, and right now the three-point shooting has been struggling for South Carolina. The last 4 games, the Gamecocks are shooting under 30% from the perimeter, where, they were shooting up to, I think they were around 45% 2 weeks ago. Now they're down to, 41%, but the last 4 games, they're below 30% from three-point range. So you take the cold shooting a little bit from the perimeter, and you take out your best option at post, and it just makes it a little more interesting than it would have been, had the normal lineup been there. For one, you just hope, you've got plenty of arms and legs with Ashlyn Watkins and Sanaya Fagan to make up the difference inside. But then you hope the outside shooting is going to come around a little bit to take that pressure off the inside, a little bit more.
One of the things that Elijah and I talked with you about before the LSU game was the number of minutes that LSU's starters were playing relative to Carolina, and that sort of a blessing of beating teams the way the Gamecocks have is the opportunity to have more of the young ladies on the bench get meaningful opportunity, and Dawn wants to see them go play. So what you just said, take that, but now apply it to what they're looking at here. How game ready for first quarter minutes or important third quarter, fourth quarter minutes are these girls relative to the opportunities that we know Camilla provides?
I think they're ready. I mean, the last couple of games, you had Ashlyn Watkins starting when Chloe Kitts was sick, and then not quite 100% on her return the previous game, so she was starting at the 4, and so she's certainly ready. And Sanaya Fagan, I've said, she's a junior, but I've said for the last couple of years, just give this girl a chance. She was playing behind Aaliyah Boston and Victoria Saxton the last couple of years, and she can do just about everything offensively. It's just a matter, the one thing that kept her from cracking the starting lineup perhaps earlier in the year was defense, but she's she's gotten a lot better at that. So they've definitely got capable folks that would be starters on a lot of other teams, whether it's Watkins or Fagan starting at the 5 tonight, whichever one Coach Shelley decides to go with. You're not going to see a huge drop off, but they're a little bit different players. Sanaya Fagan's not the huge shot blocker that Camila Cardoso is, simply because of size. Camilla's 6'7" and Sanaya is 6'3", but Sanaya is a more mobile post player, if you will. She's got a little bit. She's a little bit better off the dribble. She's got some nice post moves inside to make up for. Not that she's short. She's 6'3", but she's not 6'7", right? And Ashlyn Watkins, what the kind of athlete she is. It's just a different kind of player that's in there. But the idea is still the same. Get the ball to the people close to the basket if you can, and let them use their athleticism to score.
Brad, I want to focus on Sanaya Fagan, and of course, if you look at just like the normal stats, she doesn't rank as high in terms of scoring, but per 40 minutes, she's 4th on the team in scoring. So when she gets the ball, she has, like you mentioned, her array of post moves, but she's got really good touch on her shot as well. How do you project her with the now the challenge of getting more minutes, potentially starter minutes, in these next two games, especially with UConn coming to town.
Yeah, and what I like about Sanaya Fagan, knock wood when I say this, is that she normally finishes close to the basket. She doesn't miss a lot of the gimmies, which is important. You know, she's shooting about 60% from the floor. She's got, she can shoot the mid-range, and she's mobile. Now, again, the biggest thing for her, on the other end, will be defensively, especially when if you look ahead to UConn. UConn's got an outstanding post player in Aaliyah Edwards, who's 6'3" as well, and is averaging nearly a double-double. I think about 18 points per game. So the defensive side of it is where Sanaya and Ashland, depending on who's covering Edwards in the game on Sunday, is really going to have to step up. Obviously, they'll have a chance to show what they can do here tonight against Missouri, which is traditionally more of a perimeter shooting team. They always seem to have 4 people that can hurt you from three-point range, and it's similar to what they have this year. So it's really just a matter of can they get it done defensively. Ashland Watkins has been tremendous defensively. In fact, coming off the bench most of the year, she's still second in the SEC in block shots, grabs a lot of rebounds. But with Sanaya Fagan, if she can, give South Carolina that punch on the defensive side of the ball as well, stay with her man, stay with her assignment, and not allow the opposing forward to go nuts on you, then yeah, it'll just seem like business as usual. But they're certainly capable of that. But now they're getting their opportunity to do it, and it's kind of nice at least that they're at home with a chance to do it.
Brad Muller on the call tonight, Carolina and Missouri at 7 o'clock. You mentioned the struggles of late for the perimeter shooting. All shooters go into slumps at some point. Do you see that as just that, or are the Gamecocks being defended a little bit differently? What do you look at? Maybe a combination?
It might be a little bit of both. For the most part, I felt like South Carolina was getting the last few games, even though they haven't been hitting the threes with the regularity that they were most of the year, they were getting good looks. In the 2 games ago against Auburn, I think South Carolina started or was 0 for 8 from three-point range in that first half, and I want to say 7 of the 8 were uncontested. We did some kickouts, and our good shooters had wide-open looks, what Coach calls practice shots, and just didn't knock them down. So sometimes, you kind of hit that wall middle of the season. You got to get your second wind, whether it's tired legs a little bit, or maybe just you just kind of hit that wall a little bit, and you just got to wait for that second wind to come around. Hopefully it does, because when the Gamecocks are shooting well from the outside, obviously it can open up the inside game. But part of it too, we had some players that were shooting at a pace that you just couldn't believe they were still shooting at that pace. I mean, Tahina Paopao going into 2 weeks ago was shooting like 56% from three-point range, which was ridiculous at this point of the season. She's down now to 49%, if you want to call it a mini slump for her, but she's still the one, when she gets a good look at the basket, you feel good with the ball in her hands because of what she's been able to do. But I think it's just part of the ebb and flow of the season. You're going to have stretches like that where you don't quite hit like you normally do, but I like to think eventually whatever your true average is, eventually you're going to hit that. So I'm hoping that a couple of the ladies are due to, go back to what their average is and have a good night, hopefully tonight and on Sunday.
Last thing for you, we can do this with you. We wouldn't be able to do it with Coach Dawn, but Connecticut's coming to town on Sunday, Brad. Not sure you have that in your phone calendar yet, but check it.
Yeah, I've heard of that, yeah.
But the star power of Paige Becker's coming to town. Obviously, UConn is UConn. How big a deal is this game this year for both of these programs and for women's basketball?
Well, it's big because, UConn may not be the name to everybody that it used to be, because they haven't won a national championship since 2016, which is hard to believe. South Carolina has won 2, or if you want to count 2023, when South Carolina finished number 1 during the COVID year.
I'll count.
Since UConn has won it. Yeah, I do too. Since UConn has won its last, but it's still a top 10 right now. I think they're 11th. But there's still a top program that has overcome a ton of injuries this year, and they're still 20 and 4. And I think Paige Becker is back to doing Paige Becker's thing. She's averaging 20 points per game. She's like in every category in the Big East in the top 5 or top 10, in terms of steals, assists, even block shots, three-point shooting, all that. She's back to being tremendous. And as I mentioned earlier, with Aaliyah Edwards inside, their post player averaging nearly 18 a game. She's terrific, and they got a great point guard in Nika Mule. The big thing with UConn this year, kind of like last year, their starting 5 is outstanding. They don't quite have the depth because they've lost 5 players to injury for the season. 5 players off the roster have been lost for the season. So it's their starting 5, and then they kind of hold their breath after that. But you got to remember they were in a similar situation last year, UConn, when we played them up there in Hartford, where it was basically their starting 5 against our depth, and South Carolina won, but the Gamecocks had to go to overtime to win up there. So still going to be a star power game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun to have it on Super Sunday as well. Why not? Two of the great teams of the last couple of decades in women's basketball going head to head.
Brad, have a great call tonight and on Sunday. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Brad Muller. Speaking of women's basketball, Olympics, big deal. If you win this year, you get something cool. I'm going to tell you what it is as the postgame show continues. Final few minutes of our second hour coming up for you in the final hour of the broadcast. We'll have the headlines of the day. More from Coach Dawn Staley on tonight's game against Missouri and playing without Camila Cardoso. Again, best of luck to her and the Brazilian national team as they try to qualify for the Olympics. More from Elijah's day down at Gamecock Football Transfer Media Day. Rocket Sanders. We'll let you hear from one of the newest Gamecock running backs.
It was an exclusive. Got a little one-on-one time with the new running back star here in Columbia.
We'll do that. Drive around the SEC, all that coming up. Speaking of the Olympics, don't know if Camilla and listen, I think they're going to qualify. Don't know if they'll get any medals. I do expect the United States men's and women's teams to win medals this year. Gold medals for what it's worth.
Pretty disappointed if we didn't.
But whether you win a gold, silver, or bronze medal at this summer's games in Paris, you will have something on that medal that is actually, in my personal opinion, very, very cool. The Olympic medal design was announced today, and I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you I know who it is, but a very famous Parisian jeweler is the one that came up with the design. But on the front of each medal will be a hexagonal piece of original metal from the Eiffel Tower. Every once in a while, what happens is, like a lot of things that are old, you got to go in and fix it up and maybe just patch it or put some new stuff in. So over the years, when they've had to go in and do some mild repair to the Eiffel Tower, they take the old metal away, but instead of just scrapping it, or throwing it into the local Herbie Kirby there, They keep it. They have a foundation that runs the Eiffel Tower. And they're like, maybe can we ask? So the Olympic people knew that the Eiffel Tower people kept some Eiffel Tower metal. They're like, hey, what do y'all think if we could find a way? They're like, yeah, let's do it. So they got enough, and they cleaned it all up, and they cut them out into little hexagons, and they stamped the Olympic logo on there. So you, as an Olympian this year, an Olympic medal winner, will also own what was a piece of the Eiffel Tower.
That's pretty damn cool.
It's cool, man.
I want to be an Olympian right now.
You try, I don't know for how many years. I mean, all of the medals at every Olympics are a little bit different because, that's part of it. Like I saw that in China back in 2008, I think it was, they put like a small piece of Chinese jade into the Olympic medals and stuff like that. I don't know what they'll do in L.A. I could make jokes, but for now I won't.
Some of which will write themselves.
But nah, this is cool. They were cut from girders and other bits that have been swapped out during renovations. They've been stored like in climate control, so they're not getting all gross and, rusty or whatever. They have the games logo on there, and away we go. So I think that's pretty neat, man. I was like, when I saw that this morning, I was like, that's not, because I don't know. I don't know if they had announced they were doing that or if they surprised us with it today. So if somebody has already seen that, they were making a big deal of it today. And the medals look cool, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and try to describe it to you, but they look very cool. Well, if I try to do that, just go look it up. I promise you, wherever you search for stuff on the interwebs, you can punch it up and you'll find pictures of these things.
It looks cool enough to now the point I really want one. So I've been feverishly Google searching if chicken wing eating competitions are an Olympic sport, and I'm getting no results, which is really unfortunate. So I got to find something else now that I could.
Well, it's France, so it's either going to be like escargot.
I could eat a lot of escargot.
Or like how fast you can like wolf down a gallon of like vichyssoise.
I don't even know what that is, but I'll try it.
Cold potato soup's really delicious.
Ooh. I don't know about that one.
It's quite delicious.
I'm not sure about that one.
Oh, it's good. It's just cold. You like potato soup?
Not a huge potato soup.
All right. Well, let's say vichyssoise is it's cold potato soup.
Escargot would be pretty cool though.
I'm a
huge fan.
I can eat my weight in escargot, just like I can like oysters or any other thing like that.
So yeah, okay. So people complain about the texture. That's one of the reasons why I like it.
No, that's fine. I like it. Dude, anything that's cooked in butter and sitting there. Ford and I were doing a show over at Smoked down on Main Street, and they brought us out a big platter of oysters on the half shell.
Oh, man.
I was like, come on. He's like, no, I don't do that. And I was like, oh, good.
More for me.
More for me.
Because they go by way too fast.
Oh, and then they were gone. And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I did.
And I'll do it again.
Headlines of the day, drive around the SEC, and a conversation with Rocket Sanders. All that coming up for you in the final hour of the postgame show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Thursday afternoon. It is Thursday, right? It is. Just confirmed. We'll start off in Lexington County, Highway 60, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road. That's closed completely due to railroad repairs and maintenance. An accident has been reported on Alpine Road at I-20 in Richland County. Traffic moving pretty slowly through there, as well as another one in Lexington County on I-20 westbound. That one's going to be over at I-26 near exit 64.
Touching my earpiece like this, so it has to be real. Welcome in. It's the final hour of the Postgame Show, and it is time for the headlines today. We'll start here locally as the #1 Gamecock women's basketball team back in action tonight at Colonial Life Arena. The news of the week has been that they'll be without star center Camila Cardoso, who is with the Brazilian national team attempting to qualify for the Olympics this week. She's missing tonight's game and Sunday afternoon's ball game with Connecticut. Coach Dawn Staley speaking ahead of the game on what they're going to do to fill that void this week.
I mean, everybody just has to do what they do best. Like, do what you've been doing. We don't have anybody that's 6'7", that's almost averaging double-double. We don't have anybody. We have different now. And being different and being versatile, we have to lean in on that and not try to reproduce what we're missing. You can't. There's not a whole lot of 6'7" players that's mobile, that's, you give it to her, she can score, she rebound the basketball, but when we do have people like Fagan and Ash, they're ready to step up. Kima's had 2 good days in preparation, so I think we're going to rely on who we have and what they do best.
Again, as Brad Muller told us last half hour, this basketball program under Dawn Staley has been built on the utilization of the bigs first. They're all schooled in this and practice every day. Like we said, whether this is an absence for what Camila is doing, which is attempting to help her nation qualify for the Olympics, which I think is fantastic, or whether she rolled an ankle and had to miss a couple of days. You got to rely on the next man up, right? Next woman up in this case. And newsflash here, y'all. Carolina's really talented. So tonight, even without Camila, they are 31-point favorites. And we'll see a line on the Connecticut game once this one's done. That's how college basketball lines typically work. I have not seen. There's somebody out there who might have a line on Carolina, Connecticut. I've not seen it yet, but I really haven't looked.
Oftentimes they don't come out until the day before.
Yeah, usually it's a day or two before. But regardless, expect Carolina to get it done tonight. We'll have it for you at 7 right after Carolina calls. So we'll go right from Derek and Coach Lamont Paris straight into Brad Muller on the call. Gamecocks and Missouri. A couple other things going on. Again, the Southeastern Conference today announcing its 2023 distribution, at least fiscal year distribution. That total, $718 million. The conference distributes that. They get a little bit for the office to run some things. And the average payout per school this year, $51.3 million. For the 2022 fiscal year, it was $49.9 million. So an increase of roughly $1.5 million per school. Expect that number to go up next year, even though it will be split 16 ways, as Oklahoma and Texas will come in as full participants. Again, the SEC doesn't shortchange you like SMU is getting. And we were talking about that, and we had to go last hour. But if you didn't hear the story this week, SMU at the CFP meetings was told, after the CFP meetings was told, yeah, y'all are going to get a little bit less. And Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, and then SMU's AD, and forgive me, I forget his name, both had no comment after those meetings. But again, like you and I said, Elijah, we always say, don't give the committee something to use against you.
Anything you brag about can and will be used against you in a CFP committee.
And when SMU's going, hey, ACC, we don't need the money. We just want in your conference. And so the CFP was like, well, you told them you don't need the money, so we're going to give you less.
We want to join the friend group. I want to be your friends. And you know what? It's not about the money. It's about friendship. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to test that theory, SMU. We're going to test it.
The no comment tells me something. Yes? Something.
Yeah. Well, when I'm mad about something, I oftentimes elect not to just talk about it. And that may be a personal preference of mine, but...
Storm off.
Yeah, it's usually, I was raised pretty well to, if I didn't have anything nice to say, that electing to say nothing at all was always the right thing to do. So a lot of times, I don't always follow that. But if I was SMU, I wouldn't have a lot of nice things to say. Therefore, the menu of things to say is very limited.
Again, I'll come back around to it. Don't give the committee anything to use against you.
Because they're going to.
Because they will. And they did.
They remember everything.
But anyway, that won't be a problem for Oklahoma and Texas next year. Y'all come on in. Have some chicken while we're here. Because that's what it'll be. It's the SEC.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas,
good.
and even the checks.
Yeah, so
what they're going to get from the SEC.
But once again, 2023 fiscal year distribution per school, Southeastern Conference, $51.3 million. Speaking of the college football playoff, again, they were meeting this week, and they have named Michigan Athletics Director Ward Manuel the new chair of the selection committee. It'll be the first, obviously, of the 12-team playoff. In a statement, speaking of nice, and y'all come on in and have some chicken, Bill Hancock, the CFP executive director, nearly on his way out, but not quite yet. Quote, "We're delighted that Ward will serve as chair. He has been a valuable member of the committee the last 2 years, and that experience will serve him well in leading the group. As a former student athlete, he will also be a good spokesperson to let fans know how the committee reached its rankings." We need your little sounder. Bum, bum, bum. Because last year, when Boo Corrigan had to do that for the FSU thing, especially as an AD inside the Atlantic Coast Conference, it didn't.
He caught a little bit of heat.
It didn't go well.
No.
Florida State's still looking for some transparency, which you and I were talking off air about something else that related to that. And we were like, they told you what it was, Florida State. You weren't very good to begin with, at least in the metrics. And then your quarterback got hurt. They were probably overly transparent.
See, that's the thing. Don't complain about transparency. Complain about the answer.
Yeah. So there you go. But Ward Manuel will be the new chair of the CFP. This is going to be interesting because their rankings are still. And remember, you look at it this year, and well, the top 4 seeds are going to be conference champions, but it won't necessarily mean it's the 4. It's numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I do wonder, because that's what it's going to be next year. I do wonder when we get to the new television deal in 26, and it does allow them to do 2 things. They can change a lot of things then, and they don't need unanimity. Like right now, they needed unanimity because of the construct of the current deal. But in 26, I think it's probably a super majority, but it doesn't have to be unanimous.
A majority with a cape.
That's right. And I wonder if at that point they're like, well, okay, hold on. Yes, the top 4 conference champions will definitely be in, but they might not be the top 4 seeds that get buys. I wonder if they want to revisit that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're going to see the excitement of conference championship weekend be elevated a little bit. And I think that intrigue might draw more eyeballs. More eyeballs mean that this is working pretty well because that means more money, which ultimately is what everybody wants, even if you are at a slight competitive disadvantage, especially if you're a team like Georgia, who was number 1 all season long, but loses in the conference championship game and being forced to actually have to play. But you know what? Their consolation prize would be anyway. They get to host a play.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty good.
Well,
it is still benefiting.
It is. And in the case, if we did take last year and apply it to what the format will look like this year, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm probably loving that because as I've said, look, I understand the benefit that a bye can provide you in terms of a week to heal up if you are, if you're hurt. But only, as our good friend Ryan Brewer would say, only if you're hurt. Because if you're injured, I don't know if it's going to matter. Ryan talks about that a lot. There's a difference in playing hurt and playing injured. Everybody's hurt. Being injured means, I don't know, well, hopefully, like Brock Bowers was injured. Right?
Surgery.
Yeah, surgery. He was really injured. So does it really matter for Brock if he didn't play that for, no. He wasn't going to play. I'd rather have a home game, man. And play another game. But I would rather play at home. I think, and again, I wish that the powers that be, and believe me, y'all hear me bang certain drums a lot in my career, okay? This is going to be one of them over the next couple of years, I promise. But this notion of, oh, well, listen, they get a bye, but then they'll start their playoff run at a neutral field. It could be, again, what if it's Georgia or Clemson or South Carolina or Florida State or Alabama, and you're going to start at the Rose Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl over the holidays? I mean, yeah, will some people travel? Yeah, sure, of course. But would it be better if you had a sold-out whatever home stadium to start your playoff run? Yes, it would, period. Do not tell me otherwise. I have been around this sport my whole life, and there is nothing like a big game sellout crowd at home. And to do it for the opportunity to advance in the college football playoff, sorry. Don't give me that, well, they get a week off. Stop it.
There is a lot of benefit that are not having to play
There
a
is.
game.
I get it. But what do you? I coaches may disagree with me, by the way, and which I would understand. They may feel like what you just said. Well, hey, if my boys get a week off,
and you start one step closer to the championship game, because all it takes in a single elimination format is a bad game.
Call on me. Thanks. Then what you do is you just give them a bye, and they still start at home, and you stop with this nonsense of, whoa, we got to play the wink, wink bowl games. Again, let me do this sound effect for you. Stop it.
So I should put the group of fives in the Rose Bowl.
You play for home field advantage. What do you do in high school football?
Play for home field advantage.
What do you do in the NBA or NFL?
Home court advantage.
Thank you.
Home field.
That's all I'm saying, man. This ain't hard.
That'd be cool.
And they're not bowl games anymore, Elijah.
They're neutral
not
site games.
Bowl games. Yes, they are neutral site games. Again, sometimes
they're NCAA tournament games with fancy names.
Oftentimes far, far away from home. Championship game, sure. I get it.
And here's the thing, too. What they might want to consider if they really are that married to the idea of making the quarterfinals and semifinals bowl games is that you might want to not assign certain games at the beginning of the season, like in the NCAA tournament, where they have the four in basketball. They have the four regions.
Yeah.
And usually, even if it makes you, instead of, the second one seed, you're the third one seed, they will put you as the third one seed if you're like UConn, so you can play in the East region.
Yeah.
So that way, for instance, this year, if UConn's the one seed, they're in the East region, they're starting like their first round games like in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then eventually they will play at MSG if they make the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. They're not leaving that region. That's an advantage for them, even more so than being in the second one seed. You could still have that adjustability if you just don't marry yourself to the idea of making certain games be certain things because of logistics and location.
Yeah. Or in this case,
assign them later.
In this case, it's not even logistics. It's a nod to a former system that is now basically archaic. We don't need that anymore. I'm not saying do away with bowl games. I like bowls. I like watching college football. But these teams should be playing for home field advantage. And then the conference champions can get the week off and start their playoffs at home. Then you really got something.
Then you really have the intrigue in the conference championship games. Then it will mean more.
Just saying.
SEC.
Just means more. Finally, Florida State is looking, speaking of them, looking to now have their lawsuit, the ACC that filed a lawsuit against Florida State dismissed. Florida State argues that it is fundamentally flawed and is an improper attempt at, quote, procedural fencing. I don't know what that means.
Like the sport?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. There's a good way to settle it.
Yeah, we used to settle things properly in this country with duels.
A duel. Just slap the guy with a glove and then have a sword fight. You want the ACC network to have some ratings?
We'll fight to the death for it.
Coming up, it's North Carolina versus Duke, followed by
only one team comes out alive.
Jim Phillips,
literally,
versus I don't forget the AD down at FSU.
This is how we'll settle this.
That's the headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media. 803-948-8327. Call them up for all your home theater needs and dreams. Elijah's chat with Rocket Sanders as the postgame show continues. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Before we get into Elijah's talk with Rocket Sanders down at Gamecock Football Transfer Media Day. That's what I've named it because it's more fun than media availability.
Pizzazz.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to knock anybody. It was technically a media availability. I mean, in fact, that's exactly what it was. Just more fun to say Transfer Media Day.
That's right.
Just more fun with that. Remind you that as soon as we are done tonight, Carolina Calls with Coach Lamont Paris and Derek Scott live from Liberty that way on Gervais, right down there. I can almost see it. I really can't actually right now because they got Gunner has the blinds pulled down and I hadn't put them.
Of course he does.
Gunner didn't want you to see him in the morning.
I think that's my theory. He has. What did he tell you that it keeps the cold air out?
Yeah, well, he says that we have two sets of blinds here. We have like blackout blinds where you can't you get no light, and then we have just like shades. And he likes the blackout ones down because he says they're so heavy they help keep cold air out through our big windows. To which I just want to say, dude, just bring a sweater. All right, like bring your grandma's shawl, her Afghan, and wrap it around you.
Get cozy. Not a bad idea.
No, it's not. I mean, it's fine if you need that. I'm not. I mean, if you're cold-natured, but anyway, Liberty's that way. Carolina Call tonight at 6, followed immediately on most of these same stations by South Carolina women's basketball, or at least on one of these stations. I don't know.
One of them.
Yeah. Tonight at 7. So they're
part of the network.
Elijah got to talk to Rocket Sanders earlier, and I'll let you set this up. One of the newest additions to the Gamecock backfield.
That's right. And arguably the highest profile addition, a guy who just a few years ago ran for almost 1,500 yards in the SEC as a member of Arkansas. And last year, some injuries kind of curtailed his statistical trajectory, but sat down with him for a little bit one-on-one at Media Day today and asked a few questions about, the appeal of South Carolina and what fans can expect from him coming back from injury.
So I feel like
Elijah Campbell here at the Postgame Show with Raheem Rocket Sanders, and nice to meet you, man. Nice to have you in Columbia. What's your first initial impression of this place so far?
I'll probably say the facility. I ain't gonna lie. Whenever I came on the visit, the facility was a nice thing. I ain't go at a lot of spots because it was a short period of time, a weekend or whatnot. But I feel like the facility was my main thing. It was crazy.
It is an impressive facility. Where we're sitting right now. It's an impressive facility.
Nice.
We have a nice view of the stadium over there.
Factual.
Yeah, it's not bad. But what was kind of the selling point? You've probably been asked this all day. What was the selling point?
Yeah, like I always say was, I boiled down to this team so fast, and that was just due to what they can do to help me get back to be able to help the team. So I feel like that plays a big part. So main thing was knowing the nutrition guy very well and getting back healthy, because I feel like one thing when somebody hurt, if you're eating bad, that plays a big part when you come back of not being in condition. Because everybody, when they come back, they're not going to be at the top condition at all. So I feel like if you have that nutrition, then you can come back 0.5% and not full. But you know what I mean? But if you eating bad and you coming back eating bad, that half not going to be there. So I feel like nutrition played a big part. The strength staff played a big part. And then the offense of what y'all ran, because Coach Walken was at Arkansas.
So that relationship with D'Lo really helped, I guess, in terms of establishing a trust level, because I can imagine in the transfer portal
it was crazy, yeah. Just, whenever I put my name in there, it went crazy. I had to relax from social media, and just ease my mind out.
How fast was it? I've heard a lot of stories of people putting in their name, the transfer portal, the paperwork is filed, and within, minutes, like not even hours, like minutes, their phone is blowing up. How long did it take you for you to start getting contacted?
It was fast. I ain't gonna lie, it was fast. The day that I put my papers in, it was fast. It was fast, man.
And then seeing what they did with Mario Anderson here, for a guy who was a D2 transfer, he came here and really helped the offense and was their biggest source of rushing offense. Did seeing that kind of have any impact in terms of seeing that being like, wow, I could do this in this offense really well?
Yeah, I'm a type of person that I come here, whenever I was looking at the school, I look at the running backs and look at that and what they do on the field, but never can, compare myself to anybody else, because we all built different. So I didn't look at that as a running back position. I watched a little bit of film, but I came here to check out the facility you know what I mean, check out the school, but I was more important what offensive line had and what quarterback was going to come back and play with me.
And speaking of the quarterback, what are your initial thoughts on Lenoris and what? How do you think?
Everybody say he's a little KJ, which I don't think is true because I say in a way because KJ is bigger than him. I didn't see his game for real. I watched a little bit of film, but I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback because he's a great quarterback. But it's the fact that I've been in with KJ with his moments where we was down bad and he came up and snapped. So I wouldn't put him with KJ, but he's like a great quarterback. Definitely have an arm on him. Definitely good size as well. Not saying he's the same size as KJ. That's what I was saying.
KJ's very big.
Thing. Yeah, KJ is very big, but he like he's going to be a great quarterback. He's actually very smart. I feel like that plays a big part of his quarterback. So really, just seeing him in his game speed this year, I feel like he's going to be the one.
And I think the one thing about him and KJ is like there's a similar playing style.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about it. Yeah, I'll probably say it's a similar player style. But as I see it is, I didn't see a similar fully just because I didn't see him play heavy last year. So it's kind of hard trying to figure out if he have a similar fully as KJ. But he seems like going into now when I first meet him or whatnot, seems like a great, intelligent quarterback. You know what I mean? And I feel like me and him in the backfield would be pretty nice.
And for a lot of South Carolina fans who maybe haven't watched a lot of Arkansas football, I mean, I know you guys took it to them pretty good a couple of years ago when they came to Fayetteville. But for maybe a lot of Gamecock fans who haven't seen you play, but they see the stats and they see the big year where you ran all over the place. What can they expect from you in terms of playing style and coming in here now that you're a seasoned college football veteran in stop number 2?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna sit here and promise nobody nothing, but they're gonna get the heart out of me. You know, what I mean, they're gonna see that I love the game of this right here, and which is football. So I feel like they're gonna see that I'm gonna try to get that extra yard and do whatever I can do to help the team succeed.
And then lastly, this is the most important question: Who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
Like I was just talking about, I say Kansas. I say Kansas just because it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. And then another thing is when everybody going for one team, which is 49ers, then I feel like the money is going to be is Kansas. So Kansas.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you tell that to David Cloninger, who is here? And he's a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
And what type of scowl did he give you after you said that?
I didn't know he was 49ers fan, but he was like, I hope they lose. I hope Kansas lose. So
he's sneaky. Yeah, he's like an undercover 49ers guy here. He's been asking everybody, not disclosing. He's sneaky.
Thanks.
He's got to watch out for him.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That was Elijah today with Rocket Sanders. And again, DC propping up in several of the interviews.
That's
whether
right.
Directly or indirectly. Directly in a couple of them. But
That's
I guess
right.
he had already rolled through for Rocket.
Exactly, yeah. So he got to ask first. So David got the first Super Bowl analysis from Rocket.
We'll talk more about this on the other side of the break, but I'll be curious to see how they want to handle his, I guess, recuperation during spring. Because I know apparently a few days ago he was still in a brace just to make sure everything's good with that shoulder. The good news is you don't start playing until September.
Oh, yeah.
And it's only February.
He wasn't wearing it today. So
no, that's what I think he's got it off, but, still got some time to get it better. All right, we'll have a drive around the SEC, recap the distribution. If you didn't hear, the SEC's oversized novelty checks are on their way to a campus near you. We'll tell you for how much, and look at last night's men's basketball action, tonight's women's basketball, a little bit more from Dawn Staley ahead of Carolina Mizzou. Drive around the SEC on the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll go ahead and start off with one that has had a road closed for the last couple of days, and that is railroad repairs and maintenance over on Highway 60, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road. In terms of accidents, we have one reported in Lexington County on I-20 westbound at I-26 near exit 64, and another one in Lexington County at I-26 eastbound. That's after the St. Andrews Road exit 106. And then lastly, in Blythewood, an accident's been reported on I-77 northbound right after the Farrow Road exit 19.
Drive around the SEC time on this Thursday afternoon. And again, a reminder, speaking to the SEC, Coach Lamont Paris, Derek Scott coming up for you in just a little bit with Carolina Calls, followed by Carolina Women's Basketball, which is where we will start with some sound for you tonight from Coach Dawn Staley. Again, Camila Cardoso, Gamecock center with the Brazilian national team, trying to get that team qualified for the Olympic tournament. They've got some big games this week. Cut 16, please, Elijah. Dawn Staley on how the team operates when they don't have one of their feature players.
Well, you have to understand how we operate. Like, whether we don't have someone for injury or whatever, we just really keep it moving. We don't harp on not having them. We just harp on what's here and what we have to do. And it's nothing against the injured players, nothing against Camilla. It's just a way, like, psychologically, if you start putting that to the forefront, those players are going to feel like you don't trust them and you don't believe in them. So I've never, for as long as I've been coaching, just coach what's here, and they seem to respond that way, in a good way.
Yeah, I'm of the impression that, we talked about this with Brad Mueller. I don't want to. I'm not going to downplay this, but I don't know where the line is, Elijah. And look, tonight, South Carolina is a 31-point favorite without her. The line, the bookmakers know that she's not there. What would it be with Camilla? Probably not a whole lot different.
Yeah.
It ain't like it's going to be 40.
and a half.
Yeah. A few points difference, maybe. And again, I'm curious to see what it is on Sunday. But as you and I talked about with Brad, the fact that in so many games, especially early, South Carolina was so far above their opponents, it allowed Dawn to clear the bench. But she doesn't clear the bench and say, y'all dribble the shot clock out. Go run the offense. Go play defense. Go run. She wants to see effort so that she knows she trusts you when something like this comes up. So
those reps matter.
Yeah,
they matter.
I think they're prepped and ready. So is it a big deal that your, arguably best player isn't there? Well, of course it is. But you're so loaded. It's a nice luxury to have that kind of bench. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to be. Tonight, I don't expect it to at all. Sunday, I don't think it would either. I don't really think it will either. I mean, I know we need to be careful in saying that and don't jinx it and don't let them, look, I don't think Gino Auriemma gives two what's about what some people on the radio are saying at 5:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday, but
he might actually.
He might. He'd be the one.
He
know what they're saying about you on the radio down there?
Oh yeah. And then he probably would. He's probably one of the guys that would say he doesn't care what we say, but hearing this would absolutely tick him off.
Yeah. Well, look. All right, you know what? I take it all back. I think Connecticut is now going to beat the hell out of South Carolina on Sunday because they don't have Camilla. And if I was Dawn, I would try to forfeit now.
You happy, Gino?
Yeah.
You happy?
Is that better?
No. I still think
we'll
South Carolina's
blend the
winning
two
that
together and see what happens. I'm looking forward to that. It's a big deal game. It is. And it's a thing that Camilla's not there, but I don't know how big a thing it is.
Takes away arguably the best rim protector in the sport.
Yeah.
But I think defensively they're still good enough to be able to smother teams when it matters and force enough turnovers to really get the game into where you want it, which is with this group specifically, it's been track meets. They have been killing teams in transition. I still think they're good enough on ball. They're good enough defensively to be able to get what they want in terms of dictating the game.
Chloe will do her thing, and then, because she's already a starter, and then you just look for Ashlyn Watkins and Tanai Fagan to just come in and do their thing. And Ashlyn's been lights out, man. I mean, she's playing so well.
Oh, and she also, might be the second best rim protector in the country in terms of blocking shots.
Yeah.
So even though you might lose the best, you have arguably the next best in the country just filling in and getting more minutes.
Tonight across the SEC, let me get to hang on all of a sudden my interwebs don't want to cooperate with me, and I apologize for that. There we go. Yes, there we go. Arkansas will be at Florida, Tennessee at Alabama, A&M at Mississippi, Georgia at Mississippi State, LSU will be at Vanderbilt. Alabama-Auburn last night in men's basketball sadly did not live up to what I was hoping it was going to be.
No.
I was surprised by that. I thought Bama would play. I mean, Auburn just seemed to lock down early and never let go.
I think there is one thing that really did surprise me in that game, and that's that Auburn shot 50 free throws. 50. 5-0.
Yeah.
50 free throws in a game. They were shooting over a free throw a minute. That is astonishing. I don't think in a game that didn't go to overtime I've seen more free throws in a game than that one. And Auburn does play physical. They are really good at drawing fouls, but they made it a mission to be able to use Alabama's aggressiveness against them because Alabama likes to block shots. So that was a statement win at home for Auburn.
It was. They won 99-81. Second half a little closer. It was 14 points at halftime.
Two out of reach after one half.
Yeah, it was. And there was one moment, I think, I don't have the play-by-play in front of me to go to it, but I think maybe Bama got it to like 9 in the second half just for maybe a possession.
Yeah, it didn't last long. Kind of like Auburn's comeback where they tied it, or no, took a lead for a possession, and Alabama got it back 20 seconds later and never let up. But it never got to the point where I felt like Alabama was going to take it over.
Really weren't any competitive games last night and the others in the SEC. Mississippi State pretty easily handling Georgia 75-62.
That one got close with about 5.5 minutes left, but at that 5.5 minute mark, I don't think Georgia scored after that.
I was giving Mizzou an opportunity to win their first conference game last night at home against a good A&M team.
Good but underachieving.
Yeah.
A&M.
And A&M led 38-25 at halftime and never looked back.
It's not just that Missouri is losing games, and including one to Vanderbilt, which should be a felony in the SEC at this point. Like, Dennis Gates needs to be charged with something. I know the injuries are bad. I think Dennis Gates is still a really good coach. But, sometimes really good people commit felonious acts. And I think that's exactly what he has done this season because despite the injuries, you are still way too good to be laughably bad. They're not just losing games. They're losing them by double digits. They're losing to teams that are corpses like Arkansas, that team that does not want to be there. They're kicking guys off of the team because they don't want to be there. And Arkansas still walked into Como and won. And last night, it never being competitive is pretty
I don't know where it was. I wonder, was it the game in Columbia here? I got to be careful when I say Missouri. Was it the game here when Missouri was down 10 at the break, but then went on an 11-0 run? Mm-hmm. And then immediately Carolina turned it back around, and Mizzou didn't have they ran out of gas. But I wonder if that was the point where they were just like, that's it.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
South Carolina would have that effect because as someone who did cover the winless Vanderbilt basketball team in 2018, who was on the beat for that, and went to every SEC game, I can tell you that after Vanderbilt gagged away the South Carolina game in Memorial Gym, that that was the beginning of the end of people being visibly checked out that were on the floor.
Tennessee, easy winners over LSU last night. Again, not at all competitive. In fact, I didn't even check into this one until or it was right around halftime and saw the score was 50-27 and said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that one. I'll just keep it on the Auburn-Alabama game. And I was like, oh.
LSU cut it to 10.
So,
they flirted with it, but it was not. That one was never competitive. That's why winning at Tennessee is so damn hard.
Yeah.
They do that. They do that to teams at home.
LSU, quote unquote, won the second half. So there's that.
They have won a half, but at what cost?
Yes. Well, when you're down 23, to win the other half by 3 means you still lose by 20, 88-68 the final last night. Tennessee's pretty good. They didn't take that Carolina loss well.
No, they've played really well since then.
They've done all right since then. Looking forward to that return trip. I got one more bit of news, actually 2 more bits of news for the drive around the SEC. It's such a big drive around today that I need to have extra time. The baseball coaches have voted on preseason order of finish and all conference. We'll do that for you. And again, tell you how much each school is getting in their 2023 oversized novelty check as the postgame show continues. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show. Carolina calls Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. They might have things to talk about. Seems to be a lot going on around Carolina men's basketball. I haven't been paying that much attention this week, so I don't know.
Neither are certain people in the national media.
Ooh.
Sorry, Seth. Had to do it.
Ooh.
That was put on a tee for me. That was put on a tee.
Again,
I love Seth Davis.
No, I do too.
I've even met him once, and he is a fantastic individual.
Very nice human being, and
Yes.
And he caught it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, y'all leave Seth alone, man. He gets it. Y'all leave him alone. And here's the thing. I saw some dude taking a shot at Rothstein the other day who has him in the top 10, a Gamecock fan. I was like, man, don't hack him off.
And also, don't accuse them of not paying attention if you're not paying attention to their work.
Yeah.
So,
like, I mean, Rothstein.
that seems a little hypocritical.
Yeah, like, don't listen, that you still need their support at some point here, potentially. Just at this point, enjoy the ride, but don't go after him. Again, Seth messed up and he owned it. And he'll probably have him in the top 10 too.
Yeah. Well, there's no reason for them to go out now.
Right.
You know?
Well,
keep winning.
You need to beat Vanderbilt.
That'd be a reason. Now, you know how I talked about losing to Vanderbilt from Missouri as a felony?
Yeah. Hey, this
would be a felonious loss.
This is another. Again, we can't call them must win. I get it. You know, that's frowned upon by a lot of people. Oh, don't call it a must win game if you don't have to win it. All right. Well, it's a can't lose game.
You'll go to basketball jail for losing this game.
Yeah, you can't lose this game. So there's that. Anyway, couple of quick things to wrap it up for you. Again, a lot going on around the SEC today. The 2024 baseball preseason poll, as voted upon by the 14 coaches of the league, was released today. The Arkansas Razorbacks have been chosen as SEC champion. They got 9 of those 14 votes, LSU receiving 3 and Florida 2. The order of finish in each division looks like this. Florida first in the East, followed by Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Carolina 4th. Kentucky 5th. Georgia and Missouri rounding it out. Out west, Arkansas in first, followed by LSU. Then A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. I am expecting bigger things from those final 2 schools, considering that in the very recent years they have both won the College World Series. To see them having missed the playoffs the last couple of seasons is just weird.
You know, in the NFL, there are a lot of divisions where teams will go worst to first and inversely first to worst. That's a frequent thing in the NFL because of parity and salary cap and structure and all that good stuff. But
the NFL's built for that.
To see in college sports teams win back-to-back titles after stretches, because Ole Miss and Mississippi State have been good. They've
Ole Miss especially.
But before their titles, they were going on like a decade strong of really, really good teams that went far in the postseason. To then win it and then fall off the face of the earth is unfathomable.
Because State, I want to say like 5 years ago, State lost the final, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right about that?
I think so. They made multiple trips to the College World Series.
Yeah. That's weird. But we'll see. And the coaches also voted on their all-conference selections. The Gamecocks got 2 on the first team, none on the second team. Those 2, no surprise at all, catcher Cole Messina and right fielder Ethan Petrie. And let me see here. I think Jack Caglione of Florida is both he's first team first baseman, second team starting pitcher. He's good. I hope, again, like the
probably
SEC's
number 1 pick.
First round pick.
First round pick.
I doubt he's the first pick. I don't know. See how good he is as a starting pitcher? Because I don't think they'll, as a baseball fan, not just college or whatever, but as a baseball fan, I love what Shohei is doing. But we will see this coming year when he moves to the Dodgers, he can't pitch this year because of surgery, and he's had surgery twice.
It's not a sustainable
and
model.
and
being real.
Can Caglione do that at the major league level? I would love to see. I think there are a lot of kids that could. I really do believe that. Like, for instance, I'd have loved to have seen Tim Hudson be able to hit when he was pitching for Oakland. And when he came, Tim Hudson, I remind people, hit 400 at Auburn. All right.
Blistering.
I mean, he was a good hitter. I get it in the bigs, it's different. But Caglione will be fun. He'll be a first rounder, but where? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Good stuff today. Appreciate you. A lot of Super Bowl stuff tomorrow. More on what's going on around basketball. For Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks to Brad Muller. Carolina Calls is next. We'll do it again tomorrow. See you. But one final thought, and that's about our great friends at AAA Heating and Air. Beat the seasons, all of them with AAA Heating and Air all across the Midlands of South Carolina. Time for a new system in your home? But you say, well, yeah, but I don't know if I can afford it right now, or I got other things I want to pay for. Don't worry about those costs. You see, with guaranteed financing options, comfort is always within your budget, especially when Roy and Dana Finley are offering you a brand new special 12 months of no payments or interest all throughout 2024. That comes, of course, as well with a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. Get an instant quote at call AAAtoday.com. That's call AAAtoday.com, or you can use the phone, 803-677-1500. Visit that website today. Call AAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips at 107.5 The Game sent you. Do what I've done. Bill Gunner and many of your friends and neighbors. Stay comfortable all the time with AAA Heating and Air.